Man, it's the same bullshit they tried to pull in my day. You know, if it ain't that piece of paper, some other choice they're gonna try and make for you. You gotta do what Randall Pink Floyd wants to do, man. Let me tell you this. The older you do get, the more rules are gonna try to get you to follow. You just gotta keep living, man. Livin.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another week of Muskies on Tap. Bringing a lot of energy tonight. I think all the fellas are. I am your host, Gus Manti, and this is a really special one. We're really excited to bring this one out to you guys. Max and I just had a tremendous weekend at the Chippewa Flowage, our first time there, and we brought home the Top Gun Team of the Year for 2023 after our hard work at all three events leading up to the championship. I won't give away too many details here, but it was down to the wire for sure. So hang on and listen further for the whole breakdown recap of the pre-fishing that Max and I did and the tournament day fishing that we had. So without going any further, let me introduce the other hosts on here tonight. We have Max Manti, my brother, tournament partner of the PMTT 2023 Top Gun Team of the Year. How's it going, Max?
I'm good. I think that's a great intro, Gus. I appreciate that. I'm not gonna lie, I am wiped. I'm exhausted physically, mentally, as back to reality today for me. Went to the office, had a lot of work to catch up on, but all was worth it. I am very excited to hop on and chat tonight. I'm doing my celebration, I guess, tonight. I wasn't able to do it yesterday. I had to drive home. Nice little 3-hour drive back from Treelands after the ceremony. So I'm getting in my celebration tonight. So everyone bear with me if I start not making sense on hour 2 or 2.5 or 3 or however long this goes. But without further ado, my guy looking snappy in his Muskies on Tap old school throwback hoodie. Brian Eckel, good to see you. I think we purposely did this where we did not really chat much about the tournament last night and today throughout the day. We saved it for the podcast for you guys. So a lot of this is going to be organic here tonight with Brian kind of getting filled in too for the first time on how everything went down. So, but without further ado, like I said, Brian Eckel, ladies and gentlemen. Brian, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing tremendous. Like the reason why we started the pod was to take all of our phone calls after a long muskie weekend and just, air them out to the public. So when I was texting you guys Sunday about the tournament, we were kind of like, well, hold on, maybe we just not call each other right when you guys leave and we'll just hold on to it for today. So been eager, excited to break it down and hear what all went down for you guys. And it's kind of funny to look back. We started this pod this year and then now you guys are sitting here, Top Gun Team of the Year. So happens quick, pretty funny stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into it, man. We were talking before we hopped on tonight. I was saying, I think this is the most I've ever learned about fishing in general, about muskie fishing in general over the past few days for a litany of reasons. So before you get into it, Gus, you got something to add?
Yeah, I do. So during this exact weekend of the 22nd to the 24th, basically, of September this year, going on in Eagle River, I'd like to give a shout out to the Wounded Warriors in Action Muskie Challenge. And a lot of cool things happened that week. It's something that they've been doing for, I believe it's the 9th annual. And I know a good couple buddies of mine that do this challenge over the weekend to take a vet fishing. And it consisted this year of 9 Purple Heart veterans from across the country. I'm just kind of glancing at the newsletter on the Facebook page, which if you guys want to go check that out, it's called Wounded Warriors in Action Eagle River Muskie Challenge. And there was a few fish caught, and there was a few very, very special fish. A good buddy, Louis Drager, aka Lunker Lou,
Shout out
guided
Lunker.
guided American shout out
Shout out Lou.
guided American hero Louis, also named Louis, who is a triple amputee to a muskie
Wow.
catch. He
my
made
God.
his own contraption of like getting the rod in hand and making it so that it doesn't spin, so that his vet Louis could cast and reel in every time and catch his own muskie for himself.
That's
Oh my God,
insane.
that's
Does
pretty
Louis have
cool
any
to
footage
see.
of that?
So I think on Joe Booker's Facebook page, he was a part of this and always has been every year. He posted a video of Louis in the boat casting and reeling in a topwater. So that would be
Wow.
cool if all the listeners could go check that out and show the support for the veterans. That is an amazing thing that they do. And I've always really wanted to be a part of it. And it's always lined up with bad weekends. I mean, I knew from the start this year that I wasn't able to participate because Max and I go into the Chippewa Flowage, but I just wanted to bring that up real quick here in the intro for our listeners.
Yeah, that's amazing. I can't wait to see that footage. That sounds like pretty special moment for that gentleman. So yeah, good on Joe Booker, good on Louis to, get that guy into a muskie. That's really, really cool.
Yeah. And also a quick shout out to two brothers that took some vets out, Ryan Reynolds and Justin Reynolds. Each got their warrior a fish, and I believe Bill Jacobs did as well. So a couple extra shout outs there
Shout
to
out.
the Eagle River crew.
Well, if you're on the Eagle River chain, you got Lunker Lou, Joe Booker, Bill Jacobs, and the Reynolds brothers gotten you some muskies out there. You're in some good hands, that's for sure. So yeah, I'm excited to see that footage. So thanks for bringing that up, Gus. And while we're giving tournament shout outs and special shout outs here too, we should mention our really good buddy Mitch Lund.
Hey.
One
muskie,
Mitch. First muskie tournament he ever did. He's done walleye tournaments and stuff in the past. He fished in the RV and Marine Hodag Muskie Challenge, and boated. I think it was either three or four fish total. Three muskies total. They took home first place, big prize payout package. They caught a 49 and a half, I want to say.
49
on the dot.
Yeah, I got the list right here.
Big fish of the tournament. Yeah, do you want to say what they caught? It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, the big fish was a 49 of the entire tournament. That was insane. I know if you can find Mitch Lund's post on Facebook, or I think JVR himself gave him a shout out with Muskie Academy as well. They caught a 37, a 44, and a 49 all on day one.
That's putting beat down.
It's an insane day. And to make it all that much better is he just bought a new boat, very nice boat, a little pricey. And so this paycheck, I'm sure, makes it that much sweeter too to cover some of that.
Yep.
Yeah. Shout out Jeremy Barber's old boat for getting it done. That boat's seen a lot of nice fish, I'm sure. So yeah. It's good to know that it's in great hands with Mitch, and you can find all that recap and whatnot on his Instagram. I think it's Lundy_outdoors_. So if you want to check that out, he's a good friend of ours, good fishing buddy. He was on one of the podcasts from our Muskie Bender weekend this summer. But with all that said, I think it's time, gents, to break it all down. You ready to go?
I agree.
We are. I'm ready to get into this.
Hold on, I think I need another brew.
Okay.
To start this one out. Okay, I'm back. Got the brew, ready to roll. Max and I set out to the Chippewa Flowage Tuesday, September 19th to start our pre-fishing. We won't be giving a full-on rundown of the pre-fishing, like step by step, but we're definitely going to give all like the notes that we had on it, or kind of the things that we learned about pre-fishing, and kind of, I don't know, take what we learned and just, as I always like to say, just be better, you know. You gotta be better for next time. We're learning so much this year in the trail about all these brand new bodies of water and how to like pre-fish successfully. And sometimes successful pre-fishing doesn't mean boating 9 fish. It doesn't mean finding like one pot of bait fish. It's kind of a combination of a lot of things. So I don't know, Matt. I don't know about you, Max, but I think throughout that pre-fishing, there was some pretty good ebb and flows of how we're feeling going into the tournament because of how big the body of water was, what we didn't know or did know about each side of the lake, the sections, what to use, follows in general were hard to come by. Again, I mean,
Yeah.
all of that was just, yeah.
I'm curious to hear. I mean, since I haven't really heard much yet, but since you guys were out there a little over a week ago, got a little head start on the pre-fishing, got to check it out a little bit. Did you guys then take on Tuesday to the same sort of spots that you found in the week prior, or did you venture off to a new part of the lake and try and tackle something new? What was your game plan then the first couple of days of pre-fishing?
So prior to getting there on the 19th pre-fishing, Max and I did sneak over to the Chippewa Flowage very secretly to fish a day. And yeah, I know we did not tell a single
Very
other
sneaky.
person. Very, very sneaky. And we were able to boat a small fish, lose a small fish, see a good fish, and see a mega giant. And I know we're going to explain this a little bit further, but Max and I were talking, and we agree now after the tournament and talking to other people that we let a lot of our pre-fishing just this past week going into the tournament was determined by the few very large fish that we saw in sections of the lake. Without getting too specific, just kind of deter us from looking at other places, basically. And we kept looking at spots near, because it's such a big body of water and our boat maxes out at about 35, 36 miles an hour. We knew that we don't need to be, burning spot to spot if it's, mile, 2 miles or whatever away, and burning 15, 20 minutes of time and gas. And that's, I think, kind of where we got hung up for the most part pre-fishing, and probably why we didn't see that many fish.
Yeah, it was it's almost hard to like fully explain kind of where we were at. I guess, just trying to back up here. So like, we snuck out on that day, and we really were just kind of playing the guessing game of looking at the Chippewa Flowage map and just kind of visually looking at spots that looked good. We did a little bit of
Everything
recon.
looks good.
Everything looks good, right? I mean, it does. It's a gorgeous body of water. I mean, that's an understatement. It's unbelievable out there. And the day we got out there last week, just real quick, was a lot of fun. I mean, we bounced around to a lot of different spots that looked really good. And like Gus said, we moved a good amount of fish for a day being out there of not knowing anything, and we were feeling great. Our first spot of the day, I caught this muskie that was, maybe 30 inches. We didn't really measure it, but, shortly after that, I think our first 4 spots of the day, we saw fish, including that really, really big fish. And that was on one specific kind of section and area of the lake. And so when we got there this week, I think we built a lot of our tournament game plan and strategy around those fish that we moved that one single outing. And mind you, that day that we went out and fished, amazing weather in the morning from about 6 a.m. until about 1 p.m. was outstanding weather. I mean, just, low clouds, humid, good wind, you name it. It was kind of ideal conditions. And as the day kind of progressed, the conditions got worse, and we slowed down. So we really kind of focused on those few areas that we moved a bunch of fish that morning a week ago. And that's where we started. And, we kind of just kept at it and found a lot of different spots that looked really similar to the spots where we moved all those fish. And I thought like the first day of pre-fishing, I don't know about you, Gus, but like I felt great. I mean, you're out on the Chippewa Flowage in the fall, the leaves are changing, it's gorgeous. We're seeing some fish and we're having some fun. Felt like we really were dialing something in. But I think the biggest lesson that I learned more than anything on this pre-fishing thing is, if you go to a certain area of the lake and you hit it at inopportune times, not seeing fish, even in spots that look good, it's like you still got to bankroll those spots, because when stuff changes and weather changes and you're in certain moon phases or whatever, what have you, those different areas of the lake could fire up. And so we got really centralized on a certain location. And as you'll kind of hear as we go through it, that was our biggest problem, overall.
Yeah. And I believe also we ended up catching the first pre-fishing fish we've ever boated this year. And that really got like our heads spinning, like, oh yeah, we got this under control. Like this spot was good. We knew it was good. Got that fish. All these spots look similar. Let's go hammer them in the tournament. And I know for further explaining that fish caught pre-fishing, Max, in the quick looking back at the small footage we have of it, he turns to me and says, "Should we be fishing here? Because it looks so good. There's bait stacked up, but there's no moon
not even
phase."
stacked up. It was popping everywhere, all over this particular weed bed that we were on. It was a small spot near the deep river channel, like your classic flowage muskie spot.
Yes, and it just looked too good. And Max says that to me, and I think I said probably not. I think I said something like that. And I whip out one more cast, and I swear in my mind, I'm like, this is my last cast here, and then we're just gonna keep driving around and map it out. And I got smoked by like a 40 to 42. We didn't measure it as well. And we just were like, no way.
And that was the day before the tournament. So
Day before.
I mean, we burned that fish, and that was a nice one. That would have probably been sitting in that exact same area come the next morning.
Yeah, most likely. And we found out at least that spot actually ended up being
we'll get into that.
Holding a good amount of fish.
We'll get into that.
Not because we think they are holding there, it's because we absolutely know through some terrible, unfortunate events throughout the tournament. But I think I'm trying to think off the top of my head here. Ryan, if you don't have too much else on pre-fishing, I'm trying to think like what we really learned.
Was that fish that you kind of accidentally caught pre-fishing? Was that in one of the spots that you scouted that week prior on your secret mission out there?
No, it was not actually.
Same like side of the lake, same sort of structure and everything. So you're fishing relative spots too. Okay.
Yeah.
It was just shallow, isolated weed beds adjacent to river, kind of main river areas.
Yeah.
That was our game plan.
Should be money.
It should be. We got hung up on that pretty good about looking at the map at the main river channels and looking for everything right off of that. And basically we're looking for like pockets that the wind was sweeping through, good weeds there, looking for bars with good weeds, looking for points sticking out to deep water with good weeds. That was kind of what we were mainly looking for. And a lot of times felt like a barren wasteland,
Well, during the tournament, certainly, but not during pre-fishing. I mean, I think that's what got us so much in trouble, was Thursday, the day before the tournament, when you caught that fish, it was flat calm, 80 degrees, pure sun. So we were, after Gus caught that fish, no moon phase. You catch that fish, we're driving around to these spots we're going to fish in the tournament, and we're, driving up on them, and we're visually seeing massive pods of bait on these spots. So we're like putting X's on all these spots, like probably 10 to 15 different spots, like isolated weed beds, like Gus was saying, points sticking off islands, diving into deep water. And we're watching the bait just like pop on all these different spots. So we're like, you just caught a fish on this exact identical type of location. I'm like, this spot's going to be money. This spot's going to be money. This spot's going to be money. And we're just like drawing X's through all these spots on our map. Like, we're going to go here first. We're going to go here. We're going to go here. We're going to go here. We might have 14 fish by the afternoon. I mean, this is going to be easy. Like, we're figuring this out. And, I mean, not saying that we didn't see any other PMTT boat when we were pre-fishing, but
I was just going to ask that.
Very many.
Did you guys think because you didn't see anybody that you guys had the secret key to this thing and that, or did it kind of concern you?
I don't know. I was a little concerned, but at the same time, I was like, damn, we got these spots to ourselves. Like, that's what I love. I love diving into like new stuff like this that's not getting tapped in by other people, especially in a tournament setting.
And you got to keep in mind, the championship was only 31 boats on a massive body of water with over 900,000 spots to fish. So like, we went into it saying like, we're not going to try to listen to anybody else. We're going to try to find our own bite. And we thought we had it figured out. And I'm not saying I wouldn't say overconfident is the right word. It was just like, we felt like we got it. I mean, Thursday afternoon rolled around and we're like, let's get out of here. I mean, we got it going on. Like we mapped out our spots. Let's go gas up the boat. Let's go take a nap. Gus, go add up the pod. I'll do a little bit of work. And we'll get to the rules meeting because we got it figured out. We're good. There's going to be fish here. We know there is. So that's kind of how our pre-fishing ended. I would say we felt great. I mean, after pre-fishing, wouldn't you agree, Gus?
Yeah, I truly did too. I mean, we just had the knowledge that only we had a little bit going into it from other people, and just kind of like, I don't know,
areas.
Like not even areas really, just like a couple minor tactics, maybe some baits, but all the baits were just the same that we would be using anyways. And definitely areas, but we just neglected some of them. And I know that one day that we were on the one side of the lake and we saw, what was it? I mean, there was a bass tournament going on the same weekend. So there's a lot of those boats out pre-fishing, but we went to one area where we thought looked good on our secret mission out there, but we didn't see anything. We fished it again and didn't see anything, but also saw like 2 or 3 other muskie tournament boats pre-fishing that area. And that was like, now looking back, probably should have looked into it a little bit more on why that was so popular. Because sometimes places are popular for a reason, and we overlooked that, saying like, oh, screw this is going to get hammered, like whatever, let's not even look at this. And I think we screwed up on that.
All right, enough of the boring pre-fishing talk. Let's hear about that juice that happened during the tourney. Day one, Max, where'd you start? Did you go back to these X marks on the maps that you guys made and stick to the plan? And what did you see in the first few hours?
Yeah, well, so I guess, I mean, I want to start with saying like, this was probably the most nervous I've ever been fishing. Like it sounds so weird and dumb, but like I was fishing nervous, straight up. I was like, dude, if I tie into a fish like early on, because I mean, I guess we'll just, for all the people that aren't like fully aware of the details. So like Gus and I came into the championship and we had a lead for Top Gun Team of the Year. And essentially what the PMTT guys that run the show were saying is like, if you guys catch one legal fish over 30 inches, you're a shoe-in for Team of the Year. And so I think that kind of screwed with our mental a little bit, because instead of being like a normal tournament where we just wanted to go there and freaking win and do really well, I think a little part of our minds were like, all right, we just need one fish. Hey, we got 2 full days of tournament fishing. Throughout the whole season, it's been good. We've been able to catch a fish in every tournament in a day and a half. 2 full days, this is going to be no sweat. You know what I mean? Like we were like, this isn't even going to be an issue. Yeah, like I mean, so I think mentally we're just kind of like, I don't know about you, Gus, but like I wasn't saying that I didn't. I mean, obviously, I was going into it hoping we would win, wanted to win. But I think when you set the bar at like, oh, you just need to catch 130 incher, it does screw a little bit with your mentals. I think, and I think that kind of went into our bait, at least my bait selection a little bit, downsizing when things started to get slow, stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah, I there was a little bit of downsize in the tournament. I know, as you remember, I did not downsize very much at all.
no,
I,
you didn't. And
I
and
was
that was
stone
fine.
big.
We had good
Good.
complimentary bait selection, but
Yeah.
like I was nervous. Like I'll be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we started the day, I was nervous. I think you were too.
Oh yeah,
Not
I
much.
was. Tried to keep a stone cold face, but yeah, on the inside for sure, very nervous. It's yeah, I don't think the going after just one small fish screwed up our like spot plan, like where we're
No,
fishing. It's
no.
just I think you're right. I think it was just
Yeah,
mental where we
it
were
was just a
at.
mental thing of the feeling of the pressure of like, oh, it's easy. You just need to catch one small muskie. And as everyone
Yeah.
who's listening to this knows, like that, it's
Not
not
easy.
easy.
I would have the same mindset. I'd be like, let's downsize a bit, just find that stupid little spunky male and get on the board. Don't make it too hard. But then, yeah, that gets in your head. Second, that doesn't work. And then you're like, oh shit, did I just waste my time?
And like, 9 hours a day fishing seems like an eternity, but anyone who's fishing a tournament or, really anything, if you're on a weekend trip and you only got 2 days to fish, like those hours start to melt away real quick. So yeah, I mean, start of the day, we're boat number one. We're taking off in front of Ty and Tate Sennett, who Ty Sennett is like, a goddamn legend up there. Every single person and their mother knows who he is, and he fishes the Chippewa Flowage better than anyone else. Is obviously, we'll touch on towards the end here, but it was a big spot to be in an area that we weren't, not saying that we weren't comfortable in it. It was just like new territory. Every other tournament we kind of felt like we went in as a little bit of an underdog and like, can we keep this Cinderella story kind of rolling on? And then it just got real when we were taking off, and it was like we're boat number one. Everyone's looking at where we're going, probably like if we're gonna head west, or we're gonna head north, or we're gonna head south. Like it just was one of those feelings of like, God, holy shit, this is like kind of real right now. So yeah, we started the day at our spot where Gus caught the one pre-fishing, and what was it, Gus? 5 minutes into that spot, you moved a fish.
Yeah, not much. Moved it on a big bait, and it came into the figure eight because I saw it on side image. The water was dirty, could not ever see the fish. Ended up going around, I don't know, a good 8 or 9 times. Showed up on side image, so it went around a whole bunch, disappeared, never pretty much to be seen again that day. And that was a start, and it felt good that we got one up and moving, but it was kind of like, we're in the tail end of this moon phase. I think it was the morning major we had each day, but the first day we only got the back 45 minutes or so, and we kind of just continued that spot out. And I think we I don't know how many spots did we blank on. I know it took a little bit until our next fish moved.
Well,
Um,
I want to ask because I think it's about time, but can you elaborate a little bit on the bait that moved the fish?
I believe I can. Yes, I was holding back on this one
It didn't
only
work. So.
because it works. Actually, spoiler alert, second place team of the championship at the Chippewa Flowage caught their fish on this bait, and we actually talked about this with McLean Muskies. It is extremely well known, but not very well known in our area, and that's the beaver bait. And I've been hucking that thing around and catching some absolute dandies, moving some dandies, and caught the one pre-fishing on the beaver bait. It was an XL beaver bait, and that 40 to 42 incher had it gone, couldn't even see it. So when I saw that fish choked it, I was like, holy shit, these fish really want this bait. Like, this is my go-to bait. And even though we got some fish over the weekend, I threw that bait a lot. Didn't see a single fish other than that one the first morning, first 10 or so minutes, raised it in the figure 8. And that got me caught up a lot. And finding out that the second place team was only using beavers, but they're using the downsized ones was a
That
little
is
heartbreaking.
sad to
Screwed me
screw
up.
with you a little bit.
That screwed me up because I'm like, oh my God, I was throwing beavers like the whole time. And Max is switching up more of like the blades and dive and rise combination, and I was kind of going the beaver and rubber combination. That was pretty much like the main game plan there, and I don't know, it just didn't pan out. But
Brian,
yes,
you'd have loved it. The front of our boat looked like a Team Rhino Outdoors catalog.
Oh yeah.
Gus was sticking to his guns, and I didn't have much luck pre-fishing on the stuff I was throwing, so I was rifling through baits. And I think a lot of that was probably due a little bit to the nerve factor of trying to find a lure that I had confidence in. And
Nothing wrong with that.
yeah, I know.
well, you
But it
remember,
was
oh, sorry to interrupt. This is going a little too far forward, but remember the end of that one day, passing the Senate's boat and seeing that they just have like 4 lures on the deck. That's it.
yeah.
Black, all black, all black, all black, black and green. It's just like,
Yeah.
all right, well, they got it
It
dialed in.
It
Pretty
sounded like
obvious.
they did end up throwing a little bit more stuff, but yeah, they definitely found. I mean, they knew, what
Oh,
was going to be
yeah.
getting chopped, and so yeah, it's day one. It was a few more spots. We were blanking, and I think the morning felt good, and like there was this mid morning bite window that was happening kind of for everybody every single day. And so it was like around 10:30. It felt like we were getting texts from our buddies pre-fishing, like, yeah, I just got one or just saw one. And that was when Gus caught his, and it's when we had other follows. And so that like mid-morning, early fall bite window is always kind of good. I feel like when that heat of the day starts to kick in, the wind kind of kicks up, but the clouds start to roll in. Like that was when it felt really bitey out. And we get to a spot that we'd pre-fish, moved to fish, looked amazing. Again, we're there. We don't really see anybody else there. Still at this point, I think Gus, the spirits were fine. Like we said, we had nerves and it was a little bit quieter in the boat than normal, but like spirits were good. We were fishing really hard. We were really locked in, and I had this, oh man, I had this fish come in so hot. Like, where we were, the water was clear, which we'll touch on at this point. We moved a little bit down the flowage, and this area, the water was a little bit more clear. And about like 50 feet out, I just see kind of like the, shadow of a muskie behind. At the time I was throwing a bucktail, and all of a sudden I felt it like bump the back of my bait, like where, you can feel it in the rod tip, but you can't set because it didn't eat it. And it bumps it again. Like it like kind of grabbed it twice. And then I speed up, trying to fire up the fish to eat, changing directions. And I see the fish move up next to the bait. It's got like its left eye on the side of the bucktail, and it's swimming with it like super fast. And I'm like, Gus, here's one, here's one, here's one, here's one. And I was just about to go into my 8, thinking like it was just going to smash on the first turn. Mind you, this is like a 42 inch fish. And my whole body goes numb. Like when I see that fish, like my whole body went numb. Like no bullshit. I was like, Gus, 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 Gus. And I go into my first 8, and that fish just pieces out about at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Oh,
And we revisited that spot multiple times looking for that fish, never ever to be found again. Never saw it.
No.
damn.
Yeah, that was a different one than the one that we raised pre-fishing too. So we kind of had the confidence that there was a multiple fish holding spot, and it just turned out to be our demise on spending so much time on that spot and that area. That was
Such dumb fish.
it was dumb. I can't believe that flowage. We saw a lot of very dumb hot fish that weren't dumb enough to eat. So I can't even call them dumb. They're very smart. And picky.
Very
Extremely
picky.
picky.
And so, I mean, just to like, give you guys the timeline now, it's like we're at mid-morning. We fished another few spots, blanked. We kept revisiting that spot. We moved that giant fish the week prior. That fish never showed its face again. And so hours are kind of starting to melt away here. I mean, on day one. And there was no panic at this point that set in. We kept saying, like, all right, we got to look at this as like we got a full 2 days here. We're learning a lot. We're getting some addresses. We've moved 2 fish, and at the chip, like people have said, it's tough. So like we felt okay about only moving 2 fish. We're like, all right, we got 2 addresses. We got spots to go back to. The wind's going to pick up. The weather's going to get way better tomorrow. So let's not panic if nothing happens today. But we still really wanted to get a fish on day one. Like just get that weight off your shoulders. Cause like it was just, you're just like, God, like please happen soon. And at this point, Gus still hasn't visually seen a fish, only on side imaging. And as we burn through a few more spots here, it's like starting to approach like 1 p.m. and then 2 p.m. And then like, the tournament on day one's done at 4. And so Gus and I are like, all right, we got an afternoon minor. Let's go back after that fish that you raised this morning. We can't find our megalodon fish anymore. He's gone. He peaced out. See you later. Can't find the hot fish that I raised at about 10:30. He's gone. See you later. So we're like, let's go back to the fish you raised at first light and, get him to go during this minor.
And we go through the spot again, blank, probably a third or fourth time on that spot in that first day. And we moved to a spot very close within eyesight proximity of the spot we just fished, where we caught the one pre-fishing, moved the one in the morning, and we watched a tournament boat pull up, go to the spot, catch one right where we saw the fish on side image. And we're like, no.
And
Are you kidding
dude,
me?
we were turned, we were throwing like to our backs to them because we saw them sneak up into the spot. And this is tournament fishing, right? Like it's all like it is what it is. Like,
it's cutthroat.
It's cutthroat, yeah.
Sure.
And so like we were kind of like, oh, those mother, whatever. And we were like, God damn, like, so we were kind of like, it's okay. We just burned through that spot. We threw a bunch of good baits. Those fish are either gone or they're new, negative at this point. So we weren't too worried about it. And like, as our backs are turned and we're fishing, all of a sudden we just hear this, yeah. And we turn around, yeah. The net's in the water, and these guys are hunched over the boat, and we're like, no way did that just happen. We were there 8 minutes ago. Like, what on earth? And I look at Gus and I'm just like, dude.
Did you cry?
We didn't cry, but like, well, Gus was, I never seen Gus that fired up. I was pissed. He was mad. Not at really them, but just like at the situation. Like, I think we could have stomached day one, like getting a few addresses, fishing our spots hard, and been like, all right, it wasn't meant to be. Tomorrow's weather looks way better. But like that rattled us. Like we were like, no, like that was the fish. We needed that fish. Like, why didn't it eat? The spot's not big. The spot is not big. Like you can fish it thoroughly in like 30 minutes. And so we turned around and see them net in the water, high-fiving and shit. We're just like, we were pissed. Like we were just like, dude, that was the fish we needed. Like that was the fish to get the monkey off the back and like actually start this damn tournament. Cause like at the time now and it's 3:30, 3:40, like the day's almost done. We don't know where to go at this point. We got no more fish really to go back on. We're starting to fish spots that we didn't even hit during that day. And it just like, I would say the mood prior to seeing that was like optimistic still that everything was going to be fine. But that was one of those situations where like, I don't know about you, Gus, but in my head, that's when I started going to a little bit of a dark place. Like it might be one of those freaking weekends where like our timing just might be off. And that's a hard thing to just see,
Can we go back to what they said, what you heard from their boat?
That was it.
It was so distinct. I can remember it. Like, and it was the noise they made. I'm like, they just caught that fish. Like, they just caught that fish. Turned around, nets in the water. They're hugging and shit. I'm like, no.
That's what your nightmares were filled with that night.
Dude,
just constant. Yeah.
And so,
oh man,
day gets done, no fish. We see one fish visually. We move one fish on side imaging. Not a great day. We go to the rules meeting. We're like, well, it was sunny. We haven't gotten many texts from people. We go to the rules meeting and extra just kicking the nuts. We start talking to people. Oh, yeah, caught one, moved 12. The Senates get on stage. Yeah, we caught 2, lost 5, saw 16. We talked to our buddies Clayton and Nick. They lost 4. Caught 1, saw more.
That adds to their record there too. When I saw that post of his, I was like, "Oh my god, they had to have been in a dark place."
Oh yeah, they were. We'll get into that, but they, like people that we like, we're staying with at the cabin. Like we don't know where they're fishing. We haven't seen them, but like clearly that was when it sunk into me. Is like we screwed up. Like we are not in the right spot. They are fish firing. There was a lot of fish caught on day 1 and a lot of doubles, triples. A 50 was caught. Like there was a party going on and we just like, we were not only like we were not invited, we missed the invite. We never saw where the party was. Party was over. We didn't hear about it till after it got done. Like it was happening and fish were snapping.
Yeah, we were just straight up not invited because that party was rolling what felt like the whole weekend for a good amount of people. Because there was a boatload of fish caught in this tournament. For a tournament team of what I think actually ended up only being 29 teams, there was so many fish caught. I think it was 50 fish caught. And I think that's more than Cave, more than Madison, and more than Vermilion.
So let's get into day 2 because that's when stuff started to get real dark. And I mean,
the weight on the shoulders got real heavy after watching those people catch the fish that we were kind of after on the first day of the tournament. And what's up?
So I don't want to cut you off. I was just going to lead into day 2, but I mean, to start off that morning, you guys wake up. I mean, what's your game plan? Are you both kind of thinking different things? I mean,
I trust.
What's that look like?
In Gus, I trust.
Max put a lot of trust in me, and I think we just kind of went with a lot of initial guts. Like, there's got to be more fish in those few spots we move fish. Those fish might come back, and we stuck to fishing a lot of the same stuff as the first day, and that's where we got held up. Max, correct me if I'm wrong. Did we go? We didn't have a single follow on day 2. Is that correct?
We went 7 hours and 10 minutes, 8 hours and 10 minutes. How long is the tournament day? 9 hours?
It was 9 hours and 15 minutes this year because they started at 6:45 instead of 7.
So we went a full 8 hours on day 2. And mind you, we need a fish to like day 2. We need a fish. We need a fish over 30 inches to get what we thought at the time, Top Gun Team of the Year, to fish day 3. They cut it off after day 2 if you don't catch a fish. We went 8 hours without seeing a single fish.
I just want to know what you hit that 7.5 hour
8
mark.
and this.
Well, you got to accumulate it. Sorry, I don't mean to cut off. I was just
no, you're good. We just want to like I'm a freaking crazy this is.
This is not. So I want to add the accumulation here. The last fish that we raised on the first day was, I think 11 a.m., 10:30.
10,
it was that late morning.
Yeah, 10:30.
So let's add that, say 5 hours without raising a fish in the afternoon that day.
No sign of life.
And then go the next, I think day 8.5 hours. It wasn't until like a little after 3 p.m. So that's what's
13.5 hours.
Not seeing a single fish and hearing about people seeing 10 plus, getting bites, fish are up like crazy. The Senates get on stage after day one, and they caught the fish and they say that day 2, those fish should be snapping more. and we go the first 8.5 hours of the day without seeing a single fish, we we finally were like, dude, we're fishing the wrong area. Like
This is not 13.5 hours of like us three out on the boat shooting the shit, having a good time. Like, yeah, we want to catch fish. I mean, it's tournament fishing. Like, you are casting figure eight, casting figure eight, casting figure eight. I think I drank 4 sips of water. We scarfed down our chicken wraps in between spots. Like, you're not really talking, you're not eating, you're not drinking, you're rifling through baits. Like, the hours just kept like ticking away. Like, I'd be like, what time is it? It's 11. What time is it? It's 12:15. What time is it? It's 1. What time is it? It's 1:30. I'm like, oh my God. And like, we got to a point where I started talking to Gus. I'm like, this is going to sound really stupid now, but I'm like, Gus, man, like, let's just think big picture here. I'm like, it's our first year on the trail.
Yeah.
I shit you not, dude.
yeah,
We go like, I go, Gus, like, let's think big picture here. It's our first year on the trail. We made a lot of new friends. Like, it's been a
It's all
blast.
for fun. It's all for
I'm like,
fun.
it's all for fun. I'm like, we had a blast. I'm like, we caught fish in 3 events, 2 lakes we've never been before. I'm like, this shit happens, man. I'm like, you got to look at it big picture. Like, we did awesome. Like, accumulation of the year, we did awesome. This is like, we've had so much fun. We've had memories that like we literally will never forget. I'm like, this, like, it was that bad, dude. And I'm not like a sentimental person. Like, it got sentimental. I'm like, Gus, it's okay. Like,
that's what every diehard Packer fan, that's their talk after a playoff loss.
yeah,
It's all just entertainment.
we'll get them next year. Yeah, we'll get them next year. Like, this isn't life or death. Like, because I mean, we wanted it so bad, dude. Like, we just wanted to fish so bad, and they like just taking cast after cast after cast and not seeing anything. And it's not like we're staying on the same spot. Like, we're buzzing here, we're buzzing there, we're going to famous spots, we're going to spots we pre-fish. Like, and it was cloudy, it was windy, it was on and off rain. Like, these are conditions in September that you should just be smashing fish. And it wasn't even like, it wasn't bad, it was horrible. Like, it was so bad. So yeah, sorry to be like going a little rant there.
no, that's all right. You kind of filled in the whole details of basically all of day 2 and exactly how I felt. I was not talking a lot, and you were definitely honestly cheering me up, saying that like, oh yeah, that's right. We've done very well this whole year. I feel super grateful for that. We're here on the Chip, fishing in the tournament, in the championship, first year doing the trail. We should be absolutely honored. Felt honored, maybe not in the direct moment just because of where my head was at, but I think something switched in our minds. I don't know who said it to switch. I think you were making the call, like, we got to switch it up. Like, we cannot keep doing these spots again and again because they're just not panning out. And I know we're stubborn fishermen. We like to hammer spots. We like to stick and stay, make them pay. But we're like, after the kind of the talk of like, here's where we're at this year, like, we should be grateful. We're like, let's just start getting a little bit more closer to where we think the bite's going on. And I think the call was made to go fish this particular spot. And
So I told you, I'm like, Gus, I'm like, find it in your gut. I'm like, just listen to your gut. What's your gut telling you? I'm like, just look at the map and just like feel it, man. I'm like, just we're at miracle fish territory. I mean, it is 2:15, 2:30. We got an hour and a half left.
Boat launch
Need a
fish.
muskie. Oh,
we tried it.
We tried it.
We tried it.
And there was also a fish caught at that exact spot by our buddies.
Boat launch fish?
Here.
And we
No
fished that
way.
spot too.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was like, I think I mean, at least for me, I got a little sense of like calmness when we started talking. Actually, we're like, dude, we've had memories that we'll remember forever. This is so much fun. Like, we just got to remember, like, this is pretty cool. We're brothers. We get to fish in these events. Like, I mean, it got to that point. Like, we were just we were like comforting each
It's
other.
like I
'cause,
remember the Titans movie script or something playing
Yeah.
out.
I mean, this shit means a lot to us. Like we wanted it, like I said, we wanted it so badly, and it just wasn't happening, man. Like straight up, it just was not.
Yeah, it's something to be said about like in fishing where I mean it's good to have confidence and it's good to always feel comfortable in the spots you fish, all that stuff. But I think we got caught up. I know I did where I was like, I think I was trying too hard and over analyzing everything. And we simply, to put it in short term, we just simplified. And when Max said, find it in your gut, look at the map, find a spot, I pointed to one out and we buzzed all the way over there. And the wind was kind of pushing in pretty nicely into the spot. It's a great looking area. And I don't know if it was already on or if you told me to fish it. I feel like you told me to fish it, but I put on the old trusty 10-inch weighted Suic sucker pattern, my all-time favorite, that actually has not caught a single fish yet this year. And it was my probably top bait of 2022.
That's the baby
And
right there.
yeah, and strap that thing on, get it all put onto the wire leader and the an OBS system that we do with the split rings and all that stuff. And I just get to hucking. And I know prior to this spot, to kind of preface this, is I think I told Max kind of why I'm saying that, it's like I was trying too hard. I was like, I think I'm not catching anything because I'm like too focused. I'm like, you always catch a muskie when you're daydreaming. Everyone knows this. And
Yeah.
in my
Yeah,
mind,
Brian.
Brian daydreams 24/7.
Oh, hey, whoa, my
catches some really nice
example.
fish, and
I was
catches
gonna
all
say
of them.
you last weekend when I was up there, you were holding the rod wrong, and then you got crushed.
That's true. I was
They
daydreaming
know.
last weekend. I lost a nice fish because I was dinking around in the last.
But it does
30
work.
minutes.
It does work.
Yeah,
Does
Brian
work.
knows. He's got the monkey in his brain clapping the cymbals together, and that's why he catches big fish.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. And
Hey, man, just kidding.
So in my mind, after Max gives me the comfort of, we did a great job this year so far, no matter what happens, proud of ourselves. I have in my mind, after getting drenched in the morning and looking at Sunday's weather being extra windy and extra rainy, I'm like, oh my God, sleeping in a warm bed is going to feel amazing. I honestly can't wait to be done fishing and get back. Have no stress of catching a fish. And oh, there's one. Oh, it's just a pike. And it jumps 10 feet in the, not 10 feet. Sorry. I'm freaking fired up.
Jumps over the boat.
This fish jumps in the air, and you can hear in the video, Max and I go, not a pike, not a pike, not a pike, not a pike. And it's just a Chinese fire drill. And it happened that quick. That's what my mind was doing.
310?
Yeah, pretty much 308, 310 or something stupid like that. Just the final
50 minutes
hour.
left in the tournament.
I mean, yeah, not even, because we cut it off early so that we don't have to worry about sending picks in or losing out on service or not.
45 minutes left of fishing time.
Yeah, and that's what was going through my mind. A warm bed to sleep in, not have to fish the next day, go home, feel refreshed, feel proud of our year, and boom, I get smacked the most nonchalant eat, and I set the hook, the rod barely bends, and I
looked over and I'm like, yep, pike. Because the way you acted, like our body languages were just nothing, nonchalant.
Yeah, and then it just shot up in the air, and it's just not a pike, not a pike. Get the net.
Your soul left your body when that thing shot up in the air.
And I just run to the front of the boat, and I'm just wrenching down on that thing. I'm like, you're coming in right now. Where I'm not even gonna fight you. You're just, I might boat flip it. Oh,
you are mine.
You are absolutely mine. This thing was hooked extremely well for the one small hook that was in its face. Out of the other 8 that a Suic has, not 8, sorry, 3 trebles, 9 points, 1 point was in its face, but right through the upper jaw. I knew by that stat, totally had that thing cracked. I'm just kidding. I
Yeah,
had no
right.
idea. I had
Dude,
no
when it
idea.
jumped up in the air, like that's when you could totally visually see the fish shoot up and the bait go one way and the fish go the other.
Oh,
Like it was
no.
like, dude, I mean, when you see a fish jump that high and all the tension comes out of the line, like typically only bad things can happen.
If that came off and we both saw it a muskie in the final 45 minutes, then I would have cried. But it didn't come down to that. And we were hugging and we got that thing measured. And
35 and 3/4, baby.
that is the biggest 35 and 3/4 I've ever landed in my life.
Oh yeah, it was the most clutch thing I've ever seen in my entire life, dude. I was like
Iceman
in his veins. We were
bringing
going
back
nuts.
the golfing days.
Yeah, how loud were we after that? Any little girl screams come out?
Shouting,
just like we did it.
I was like, did that just happen? Are you fucking kidding me?
Who do you think you are?
I am. There's a boat of like 30-something-year-old walleye fishermen that are like 40 yards away from us. They were on the spot.
Drove by us.
Yeah, they just drove by us. Yeah, that's right. They just drove by us. They see this all go down. They start yelling. I start screaming at the boat. Gus, you can edit this out. I'm like, fucking right, baby. I'm like, that's a big fucking fish for us.
And these
And
guys
they're
are
like-
going nuts.
Dude, they were going nuts. They're like, hell yeah, let's go. I'm like, yeah, fucking right, baby. That's a big fish for us. We're on this like famous bar.
Wait,
and,
are these other musky guys or
no, they're just
oh,
Yeah,
that's
you're-
hilarious.
you're sending a text over there. So we are like, dude, they're just three random dudes. They have no idea we're in this tournament. They probably have no clue what's going on. They just think we're like probably out there fishing. Maybe they knew there was a tournament going on or whatever, but like I'm screaming. I'm like, that's a big fish for us. That is massive. I'm like, this guy is fucking clutch. I'm like, let's go. We're
then
freaking out, dude.
And the funniest part, they're like, how big? Like, is it a big one? And we're just like, I don't know, like 36.
No.
Like, no,
It's not big at all.
But
But
who
I'm like,
cares?
oh man.
Wait, so did you guys know big picture? Like, I guess we've got into the results yet, but Ty and Tate Senate, did they come in going into Saturday with a few fish or
Yes, we knew they already caught two fish on day
two
one on
fish?
Friday.
Okay. So
we should preface it. They were second place for Top Gun team.
yeah. So they already had two. You guys had zero. They're in second. I mean, you guys had a good chunk of points, ahead of them. But
We didn't catch a fish.
Did
We
you-
weren't getting first.
yeah. So did you know though that even with the 35, it was going to come down to
Nope.
pinching points here?
No, we didn't know that until we got to the meeting afterwards, which prior to
So
that,
you guys didn't even know
let's-
that like that won it.
Well, we were
You-
told that there was almost mathematically no way that if we caught a fish that anybody could win. There's a very slim chance. The only chance was if we took last and they took first. And by last, I mean out of all the teams that caught a fish, because there was 23, we had a 23-point lead. There was 23 boats that caught a fish. And if we took last and they took first, we would have tied for the entire year.
What?
It would have came down to the tiebreaker, which is
Overtime.
highest tournament finish, which would have been them who
Yeah.
we were guessing at that time we're going to either take first, second, or third at the very worst. So at the time when Gus caught that fish, we were thinking there was most likely no way 23 out of the 29 teams caught a fish, because that is like astronomically crazy odds in a tournament. If anyone, like just doesn't happen.
right. And yeah, so in our heads it was like it's ours. We sealed the deal. We did what we set out for here, and the day came to an end. We did not see anything else again, so we went that day with 0 follows, 1 bite, 1 boated, 35 and 3/4. We go towards taking out, and we actually run into the Senates, Ty and Tate. Tate has 2 bush lights in hand. ready to just toss at us. He didn't even know if we caught a fish or not. He was going to toss it to us, either being a congratulations or like, great work this year, guys. You'll get them next time. And we told them we got the fish, and they were absolutely fired up for us, which is pretty cool. And another thing, those guys are awesome. The Senates are really cool people. It was great meeting them this year on the trail, and I really look forward to, doing the trails from here on out with, hopefully them in contention, good competition at all the events. So, but that was cool of them to do that. And then we find out that they got 2 more, which wasn't super surprising for us. I can't remember. I think they said, did they lose a couple as well the second day? Maybe 2 or something, and saw like a few more.
They lost some big ones the second day.
Right. Yeah. So we're like, okay, that just makes sense. It's the Senates. And we went the whole day not seeing a single fish and then getting one. And we're like, all right, I don't know what's going to happen. We weren't really looking at Facebook updates. And then we see that it's like, oh, people are doubling, tripling, big time fish caught, double the amount of
Crazy
fish caught
action
from.
day.
And we get there and we find out that there was 26 fish caught, I believe. Yeah, 26 fish caught day 2, and there's 13 day 1. And it ends up being 23 boats of the 29 caught fish in the championship in 2 days, which is unreal. Usually it's the Tim said it's usually like 8, 10, 12, maybe 15
most.
Boats. So that's why they're like, it's you guys catch a fish and it's yours. And then we find out that we're in 21st of 23 boats.
The Senates were in first.
The Senates were in first. And we're like, holy crap, if we don't catch a fish on Sunday, day 3, the 2 people behind us in 22nd and 23rd place catch a fish, and the Senates take first, we don't get Top Gun. Like, holy crap, now this actually
real
again.
Yeah, as if it wasn't real.
Yeah. And so I would say, like, just the sheer fact of getting that fish, like the adrenaline was so great that it almost didn't matter when we found all that out, because it was like, who cares? We that moment, well, like it didn't even matter at that point. That was such an insane moment, man. Like 45 minutes left in a 18-hour tournament, visually seeing one fish in 18 hours. I mean, it like going into like just like the depths of hell in musky fishing. Everybody else is cracking fish, and we are just like so down bad, and
we
like
wiggled our way into that field for Sunday.
Like, talk about just manufacturing one single bite.
Oh.
And it was really cool. Like, everyone was so awesome at the not the ceremony, but like the day 2 update meeting area. Like, everybody was, just being really cool. Like, way to grind it out, way to get one. Like, that's awesome. And then we kind of figured out that news, because it wasn't right away. Like, they don't give like total like live updates. And so you don't really know until like you actually break it down. And we were at the bar, and like the, guys that were directing the tournament, all of a sudden they started doing the math, and they're like, yeah, I mean, this is the scenario that's going to play out tomorrow. We're like, holy shit. Senate's buy us a shot of peppermint schnapps.
Trying to get hammered.
Trying to get us hammered. We're all hanging out. No, they were so cool, man, about it. They were like, just go out there and bury one tomorrow. Just go get one. Just get it done with. Like, you guys got this. And yeah, I mean, like, so day 3, like Gus and I were talking the night of day 2 after we got back from the bar. We're like, well, we're not going to any of the spots we fished day 1 and day 2 besides where you caught that fish. Like, we're reinventing the wheel, and we're going to try to just go by the seat of our pants and try to find one goddamn muskie in this beautiful body of water.
Just 100% new game plan.
Yeah. So Sunday, is this like a part of the lake you've never put your boat on?
A little bit. Yep.
Yeah.
Fishing similar cover and structure, or I mean,
water clarity was the biggest deal, man. Every single day that water where we were fishing got clearer and clearer and clearer. The wind was blowing from the south. We'll just say it. We were on the south end of the lake on the east side, and that water from the day we were there a week ago, doing our sneaky pre-fishing thing, was a little bit dirtier. The fish were there. every day pre-fishing, we realized that water started to get clearer and clearer and clearer. And those fish either smartened up on baits or they just completely vacated those areas. And so our game plan on Sunday was we knew where there was some dirty water. We at this point, we didn't know the exact spots on where those bites were all happening, but we knew the side of the lake that they were happening. We didn't know many spots over there. So we were like, we're not going to chase a bite and try to copy somebody else's game plan. Like, we're going to try to do our own thing. It's always worked for us. We're going to stick to it. Our biggest thing was trying to find really dirty water. And Brian, you would have loved how we fished on Sunday. I mean, it was like combat fishing, dirty ass water.
Oh
throwing
yeah.
up on stumps underneath lilies, twitching
Oh,
cranks.
I loved it.
throwing
Oh
blades,
yeah.
top waters galore. It was like, I mean, granted, it was awesome, but the same freaking thing happened.
Oh,
We still weren't moving jack shit to start Sunday morning. Welcome to the Manti boat
on the
this
Chippewa
tournament.
Flowage. And not
We had a
to
lot
make-
of fun.
To make matters worse, it was blowing 30 to 35 miles an hour from the east. It was raining about as hard as I've ever fished in, on and off. Not even on and off. It was consistently raining, but it was on and off, downpouring. There were storms all around the area. Lightning was flashing, thunder was hitting. We had no service, so we have no clue if other people are fishing.
so at what point is this kind of like afraid for your life or is afraid to not catch a fish?
There was a time when I said this out loud. I go, Gus, I want to win Top Gun as bad as the next guy, but I also don't want to die.
Yeah.
It's like
you
I'd
don't
rather
get struck
not
by
get
lightning.
struck by lightning. We were kind of near a resort, and I think, and at least in my head, I was like, we could just park the boat up and maybe go watch some Sunday countdown type stuff.
Yeah. We did find out there was a tournament team that cut it at 9 and went and got breakfast, even though they made it to Sunday.
They were like,
just
screw this.
it."
I mean,
They saw one bolt of lightning and they bolted.
Yeah.
Max, was
Which,
it a harder, like more consistent rain than our one tournament we got out in this year?
It was similar, but it was way colder. So like at least
Yeah.
that was kind of like refreshing because it was during June.
Yeah.
It was like that nice June downpour where you're like, all right, this is manageable.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't pack right, like I didn't know it was a high of like 53 and it was sideways driving rain. I had 2 raincoats. I started with my one raincoat that got so drenched that I had to switch. I had like 2 hoodies on underneath. I had a base layer, and I mean, I was fine, but it was miserable. Like our hoods were up. We couldn't, and not that we weren't talking because like the fish was bad. I mean, that fishing was bad. I mean, obviously that played a factor, but like we couldn't talk because we couldn't hear each other. It was just like, kind of just weird in the boat. Like it just, when you're in your own head,
Yeah.
feel like you got to get a fish, and like we're going to all these new places. We've never seen a fish. We're like trying to get out of the wind. We fished way up a creek arm. We fished a bay, and that's where we got our first little bit of action. I had a muskie come up hot on bucktail and actually kissed the back of the bait and swam off right underneath my feet. And that was like, oh, finally the second visual fish that we've seen in the last 2.5 days comes flying in, kisses the back of the bait and pieces. It was like a 36, 38 incher. Like,
What hour was that at?
that was probably around that 10:30, 11, saying that mid-morning bite window.
Yeah.
We were in an area we liked. We never fished it, but like we heard it was a good spot. We heard it was a good area. So like, again, no other PMTT boats around. No, not a single soul.
Just
We're like
all to ourselves. We're like,
all to
I mean,
ourselves.
is this good
Beautiful.
or bad?
It was beautiful. Like back bay is like an arm extension of the flowage. Like, it was gorgeous back in there. I mean, it was like I said, it would have been like a wet dream for you fishing that. Like
Had a loon following our boat.
Yeah, we had a loon like following us around. One of our only conversations we had, I go, look at how peaceful that loon is. Not a care in the world. He doesn't care about muskie fishing. He doesn't he's not stressed out. He doesn't care about us. He's just eating fish. I mean, there's bait popping everywhere. And yeah, so that happened. And like, it wasn't the same amount of anxiety it was on day 1 or day 2, but like it was still there where we really did feel like we needed another fish because we didn't want to go to that rules ceremony not knowing what the Senates did, not knowing, because it wasn't like 6 teams had to catch a fish. It was just 2. And the weather was good enough for fish to be snapping. And like, if you were on them, you were on them. So we just kind of assumed like there was probably a pretty good chance that those 2 boats were going to get one.
Yeah, and
so
we
were
kind of
nervous.
knew that there's a good chance that the Senates could very well win it in the place that they were in, first place going into the 3rd day. We had some friends and some other people that we knew in contention with them, and we were hoping and praying that they were just going to start smashing fish and no offense to the Senates, take them down, but we just, you never know.
No, we kept saying like it's in our hands, let's finish it. It was not, we didn't want it
I agree.
to have to be anyone else's prerogative to beat us. Like we wanted just to kind of just finish it ourselves. So that's again buzzer beater type stuff. I looked at Gus and I was like, all right, the spots we're fishing aren't working out. We were on the way north side of the lake at this point in time. I was like, Gus, we got probably 1 or 2 more spots to finish this tournament off. Let's do it. We went back at that fish that I'd moved 2-3 times, never saw it again. And Gus said, okay, and we kind of chatted about maybe going back to that curse spot that we fished a bunch where fish were, and we knew other fish were at. I'm like, I even said, I was like, I kind of want to go back to a spot we know fish are at, like it just makes sense. Like we might be kicking ourselves if we don't go back there. And we started heading that way, and Gus looked at the freaking wind that was racing through over Pete's bar, and big like 3-foot rollers, rain was coming down, and Gus just said nope. And he literally just goes, turns the boat around. He goes, we're fishing this spot. And I was like, all right, bet. And Gus, I trust, we're fishing this spot. And
so we turned the corner and we got some other PMTT boat chilling on that spot, almost directly where I wanted to start, where the waypoint is of the fish that I caught on day 2. I'm like, all right, screw it. There's a similar spot right here. Let's roll in there.
So
let's just see what happens.
Turn the boat.
Did another 360. I was doing circles at this point.
Yeah. I mean, like if you would have had a camera on us, we're like, where should we go? Here. Nope. Here. Nope. Back the other way. So we go to this spot that, I mean, frankly, I thought looked like absolute ass.
I thought looked great.
I did not like this spot. It was just, I don't know. It just didn't really scream that there was going to be a fish there.
Welp. It was at this point still downpouring throughout the day, so our hoods were up. My field of view was pretty bad, and that's just kind of the beginning of this. We were not on that spot for very long, and I see out of the corner of my eye chaos. So Max, you could fill in on this fish eat.
I mean,
how long were you at this spot?
A minute or 2.
Yeah, a minute or 2. We just pulled up, and at this point it's 12:25, 12:27. Tournament ends at 1. So we're like, we got 1, maybe 2 spots left. Like
I was just gonna keep running that spot, honestly.
Yeah, we were like, all right, let's just give it hell. And I was throwing that same bucktail that I'd moved that fish on, and again, like it's raining, it's windy, it's cloudy. You can't see anything in this water. It's pea soup. I go into my first turn. I'm like looking at my bucktail. Like, again, I got like one hand on my rod. I'm defeated. I've never wanted to stop fishing so bad. Everything in my body just like hurt, like everything. And I go into my first turn. This fish came vertical, like opened up jaws and just absolutely, the bucktail just disappeared. And it hit so hard. And I remember I grabbed the other side of my rod and I just yammed back into him like as hard as I could. And like I was on the front of the boat, yam back into him. He goes to the back left of the boat. And we heard this all week long. Like Tate and Ty said, we're talking about like these fish are fighting like absolute nutcases right now. Like, you know, they are fired up when they get hooks in them, because like people were losing crazy amounts of fish. Like it was not normal. Like people were saying, oh, caught 2, lost 5. Clayton and Nick on the first day, caught 1, lost 4. I mean, these fish were going, they were jumping, they were digging, they were doing cartwheels, everything from what we were hearing at these like post, day recaps at the bar. And we didn't really experience that on Gus's fish besides the jump. I mean, it jumped, but then it came to the net pretty easily. Now, granted, it was 35, so Gus was able to kind of just horse it in, like you said, but this fish was not having it. And when I hooked it, it went ape shit. I mean, it just started going insane. It was doing flips. I'm watching the fish, like the tails out of the water, the heads out of the water. It's like digging under the boat. It brings me around the whole front side. And like Gus said, our hoods are up. It's raining still. And as like the fight's going on, I think the rain actually kind of stopped. It was either as we put the fish in the net or not. But like at this point, the wind's going, the rain's going. We can't talk. This fish is going nuts. I mean, Gus, you can fill in any details that I'm lacking here, but essentially what I remember happening is the fish started taking me around the boat and it was going so fast. Like I was free spooling it because it was right next to the boat and like I was keeping good tension on it and everything, but like it was just digging, it was trying to head to the motor and everything is wet, everything's soaked, it's slippery. And so like I start running to the back of the boat and I slam into Gus and I knock him forward into the he's got the net in his hand. I run into Gus because I'm looking at the fish. He's looking at the fish. I run into him. I knock him forward. The net gets tangled in the cameras and the fish is like going nuts next to the boat. And I'm like, net, now. And I'm like screaming at him. He can probably barely hear me. And he's like messing with the camera and he just goes home and he yanks it, breaks the whole fucking camera mold off the thing. Like he just rips the cameras down. When he ripped the cameras down, the net gets caught in the motor. Simultaneously, the string from my stupid sweatshirt gets caught in my handle of my reel. And as I'm looking at the reel, I go to free spool again and my thumb is all pruned up and wet and it slips, the drag slips. And the whole line goes and bird's nest.
Oh.
And so I reel back down over the bird's nest. It's locked up, completely locked up at this point. The reel is like the literally line is like pouring out of the reel. My sweatshirt freaking thing is tied in the handle. The fish is like on the back of the motor. And if we're in a tiller and like there's not much room in the back deck, Gus is like futzing with the net to get it out of the motor. Fish is going absolutely berserk. I'm just feeling the rod like going boom, 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 like everywhere. I don't know how I even hooked because, like, mind you, I hooked it in the 8. So, like, you don't know how, like, the set was. Clearly, it was hooked well because it still hadn't come off at this point. Gus finally gets the net out, and, like, I kind of just remember pulling, and Gus gets it in the net, and we were just both like, what the hell just happened?
That's unreal.
That was the most stressful moment of my life.
Did you, like, fuck up those cameras pretty bad? Like that tower cameras it shot?
No, so I it sounds bad, but I truly did rip with a lot of strength on that. I got caught.
We could have lost the GoPro.
It would, yeah. So
landed on the deck instead of in the water.
Yeah, we got really lucky. So I run a system in the back with the YOLO tech, and then a adjustable RAM mount thing that attaches to it to run the second camera. And I got caught apparently in just the one that's kind of the one-off connected to the YOLO tech. If the net was on both and I ripped like that, I would have snapped the YOLO tech stick in half. But I ripped it off to break that mount, and that GoPro came off of the power cord and landed on its own on the back deck about a half a foot from the water and completely shut everything off. The power all came off. So I actually, as we're sitting here, have not looked back at the footage. I don't even know if I still have that. It probably got corrupted.
That would be hilarious footage.
It would end right as I go, God damn, just rip. Just rip.
You got to see if that's there. We got to upload that.
I'll be checking here shortly. And so I think Max has pretty much all the details there, because when he was running around that boat, when that fish was absolutely fired up and just like running. I literally yelled, "Stop running," because he ran into me, and then he was about to run into the net and break the net in half, because when I did tear it off with the GoPros and then get stuck in the back engine, like the handle of the tiller, the fish kept wanting to go around the boat again to like get past the motor, and Max wanted to take it with it. And I'm like, he can't get by. Like you're not going to step over the net here. The net's in a vertical fashion, like you can't just.
I didn't have enough line to go over the top of them.
Yeah. And you couldn't just kind of go behind me and take the line over it, which in my mind, I'm sitting here still, mind you, a hood up, and I can't see much. I'm not looking at Max in particular. I mean, he's just been yelling net a lot this like back half of the fight. Meanwhile, I'm still basically stuck in the motor, and I'm like, I can't verbally say anything. I don't know what to say where I'm like, dude, I can't. I literally can't. And I'm
couldn't
like,
hear each
it's
other.
like just such a stressful moment of just like trying to communicate, but nobody can hear anything. Like nothing, just we can't say what we want to say, and it's all just a shit show. And
I wasn't
say
making any
that, and
sense.
no,
Like
nothing.
I thought I was trying to make sense. Like when I was yelling net, I was trying to mean like, hey, I'm about to swing the fish, like get the net ready. But I was like looking at the fish, looking at my rod, looking at my reel, looking at Gus, who's like, what are you doing? Like, why don't you have the net in the water right now? Like, what is happening? We couldn't communicate. So it was like a very highly high tension, like a lot
high
of
tension. I was about to kind of like not drop the net, but like that fish was running so much it was kind of running into my line, because I just dropped the rod. I didn't reel my bait in or anything, and in my mind I was like, I don't want to get tangled, but then I'm like, I don't really care. We'll just deal with that later if it does. And then it finally netted in the back corner in between the motor and the Yellow Tech, light stick mount in the back, in a very small little nettable area. And yeah, it's wet and slippery, and I'm trying to get the bait out, and Max is holding the net, and it's just kind of like twisting around, because we put it right up on the gunnel so that it doesn't do that. And I just quick get that thing out. It was hooked just like the one in the day prior, just one of the hooks just straight up to the upper jaw. It was hooked well, but obviously
well, not to mention you dropped your rod and your line was still in the water and the fish went into your line.
It was about to. It never did actually, but it was about to. That's what I was saying. Like I was about to think about, dropping the net and getting my line out of the way. Then I was like, screw it. That would have been crazy if that happened too. That would have been just like
double,
100% of
quadruple shit show.
100% of bad things happened, but almost, it was like 99% of bad things that could have happened. And then it was like sigh of relief. Like we definitely just did it again. Buzzer beater, Hail Mary, fish in the bag, and called Tim, got it registered, sent in the pictures all good, even though everything is just soaked to the core, like everything in the boat. I mean, it's just been raining nonstop for 2 days straight, basically. And that pretty much concludes it. We didn't really even think about, we tossed our lines in a little bit after that, but we were in no rush to get back to fishing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not 100% clear on the point system, but like even if Tate and Ty Senate caught 350 inches in the last 30 minutes,
which they almost did.
Would they have been able to, if they did something unimaginable, would they have been able to? No,
not
just solely on placing.
Yeah.
It's placement for points. There's no weighting on size of fish. So like, for example, in Vermilion, when Max caught that 40 3/4 giant fish, all we got was placement for 8th place, which is like 153 points or something like that.
To make it simple, it's like we had a 23-point lead on them, and in the tournament they took, well, spoiler alert, they took first, we took 12th, I think. So like they beat us by 11 points. So we had that 23-point cushion. So that's where if we would have taken, 23rd and they would have taken first, they would have won clean sweep. And that if we didn't catch that fish and the other two people did catch the fish, they would have deserved it, and we would have deserved what we got too. Like we were talking, like people at the day 2 were like, "Oh, you guys deserve it," and it's like, no, like you got to catch it. It's like it is what it is. Like you just don't suck. You got to catch fish, and we
be
sucked
better.
and be better, and we sucked, but we somehow, like I told Gus, I'm like, it felt like the people we talked to, every single person could have done a lot better in the tournament. Like they lost so many fish, and even the people that like took in the top 5, like they hooked and lost so many fish that they could have caught 8, 9, 10 fish. And Clayton says, if you're on fish, you're going to lose fish, which is totally true. It was one of those seasons where I think we had to recognize that there was a lot of luck involved in some areas, and this tournament was it just was, there was a very vast amount of luck, like not only with the spot selection at the last minutes of day 2 and day 3, somebody being on our spot, for example, and us going to another spot that we ended up catching that fish on day 3, but it's also hooking 2 fish and landing 2 fish, because those fish were they were teed up. They were going nuts.
Yeah, I can agree on that. I feel very grateful that our fish somehow didn't go ape shit like what the other people's did. But yeah, that was another sigh of relief. After day 3, 30 minutes left. I mean, we kind of just nonchalantly sent in the photos. We were not in a rush because we knew that finally for sure sealed the deal. We knew we were in absolutely zero contention to even take in the top 5. I mean, if anything, we could have by chance caught the largest fish of the tournament, but even at that, it was just like, we don't know this lake very well. We don't have a big fish pinned. We know some big fish spots, but that doesn't mean you just go there and you catch one just because it's a big fish spot. And we were fired up then. Then the tournament ended, and we kind of just knew, like at the award ceremony, that we were gonna get called. And it like never fully sank in, after, like right away after the tournament, not until Max and I got called up on stage after the second and third place Top Gun, and then it hit that we actually did it. We accomplished the goal after, I mean, honestly, I don't even know if that was a written down goal of ours until after Madison, pretty much, because it was like, I think our first goal was making the championship. We knew that was going to happen after Cave Run, goal achieved. And then we did well in Madison, and then we're like, all right, new goal. It's, go for Top Gun contention. We're just going to
give ourselves a chance, at least.
Yeah, give ourselves a chance throughout these. And that was kind of like our ordeal going into Vermilion, not knowing a whole lot and getting that one fish. And then the pressure set in. I don't even know how to explain it after that, after the fact.
After Madison, once you kind of said, like, you know what, maybe we could go win Team of the Year, did you then take a gander at kind of the rewards you might reap if you did finish Team of the Year? And for those who don't know, what does that all grant you going forward then?
It gives you pretty much the title of being Top Gun, which people consider being very, very prestigious in the PMTT world. It gives us boat number 1 for the 2024 season, and it also gives us free entries into all the qualifiers for 2024. So no check at the end of the tournament, but free entries next year and a big trophy. And just the award itself, really.
Also, like,
accomplished.
I think I've been saying this throughout the whole trail, but I think the biggest thing is, like, your career, what you decided to do to become a muskie guide in northern Wisconsin as a young guy without much clientele, doing it and starting with it. It's like, this really helps, like, kind of solidify some realness on, like, okay, this guy can catch fish. And that's right. We talked, Brian, on podcast about who's got more pressure, and either if you have the fish on or if you're holding the net. And I was like, well, I always felt so much pressure holding the net when Gus had a fish on, because I knew like in these tournaments, like 1 or 2 fish is a huge difference between either placing or, even catching a fish in the tournament. Like, a lot of these tournaments this year, one nice fish to 2 fish like got it done for a top 10. So like, my thing was, I got a career working in a job in Minneapolis here. Like, I went to work today, no one cared about like what happened this weekend. I mean,
Except for the clients.
yeah, like, yeah, sure, it's a talking point or whatever, but I don't no one knows, like, who cares?
Yeah.
But like for Gus, it's a huge deal for his guiding business. I hope so. And I hope people recognize that, like, yeah, if you're looking to go up to Eagle River and catch some fish, like, yeah, this guy can do it. So I think more than anything, that was the biggest takeaway for me, was like, yeah, this is going to be a huge Kickstarter to your career. And that's a
Especially
big deal.
in year one on the circuit. I mean, that's an impressive feat in itself. He kind of, I don't know if there's history on it, but I'd be curious to see if any other first year teams won it.
I
got
don't
no
know.
idea. They don't.
yeah.
I don't know what like records that they keep. It looks like I tried to look back at point system to see if like we had a contention for a lot of points, and it looks like they changed up their how they give points to Top Gun. So I don't know if there's any way to know without like an Excel spreadsheet on our part. But yeah, that's a good point, Max. I appreciate your kind words there. It was a goal that kind of got lost within the year of, I was just trying to make some noise in the industry a little bit, honestly, just because like, I mean, we enjoyed tournaments right, from the get-go, as much as we sucked right away, but we just like, we enjoyed doing them. And then we saw the PMTT always goes to Eagle River, and we're like, oh, sweet. This is like our chance to kind of run with the
Big boys,
the real top guns at the moment, what we're thinking.
I mean, dude, the people that do those tournaments, like, I mean, we'll kind of recap the final results here. We'll pull them up, but like, there's some people who know how to fish. I mean,
some
like
people that have been around the block 10, 15, 20, some from even inception, 25 years. It was the 25th anniversary of the PMTT. They really know how to fish, and a good amount of them have fished, even if it's not many times, have fished at all the places and that the trail went to this year. And it definitely felt like we were the underdogs at any time, even going into the championship. So I think with that all being said, we can kind of go over the results from the tournament. If you didn't already see on the Facebook page for the PMTT, they got us in at the Top Gun with 613 points. Ty and Tate Senate, congrats to them. Second place for Top Gun Team of the Year was 603. Congrats also to Dwayne Landmeyer and Mark Rue for third place, Top Gun Team of the Year with 472 points.
Dwayne's a beauty.
Was Dwayne, were those the guys that came in clutch in Madison?
No, that was Mark Lajewski and his partner.
Lajewski,
as Ty said in his post-game kind of recap thing, he's like, pretty much said that he's like the best tournament fisherman he's ever kind of came across. Like, the guy apparently just really knows how to find big fish, and obviously showed that in Madison, and he's had a lot of wins in the past, and you know, a lot of good sticks in this thing. That's what made it so cool. It's like, God, I can't believe we're on this stage right now.
I know, it just felt weird because like we've looked at results of other tournaments and we've seen these people's names and
watching them on YouTube and watching them on
watching all the old keys stuff,
and
all the old keys on the PMTT. I mean, we're like jealous of all these big timers going out there and just sticking some nice fish in these tournaments. And
it's like,
all this, it's like, dude, these guys are freaking good. They can stick fish in any conditions, any place. And going forward, talking again about Lejewski for the top 5 at the World Championship PMTT. We got Mark Lejewski and Nate Ruskowitz. I think that's how you pronounce his last name, with 5th place, 41.5, 32.5, 34.25, and 36. And 4th place, good showing for Dwayne and his partner Mark, getting the 45, 42.5, and a 40.5. Really nice fish for getting 4th place. And then our good friends that we stayed with throughout the trail that, really kicked butt in the trail as well this year, and kind of really always has been since those two have been partners, would be Clayton Speece and Nick Amrose, taking 3rd place with the 42, 41.25, 37.75, and 34.25. Taking home 3rd place, putting Eagle River on the map yet again. Our small town coming in clutch. I know there's a few others. I know the father-son duo Pete and Chris Blickards also found some fish and made it to the Chippewa Flowage Championship again.
Where they won last time I was here.
They
Shout
won
out.
2 years ago, the last time it was there. Shout out. And in 2nd place, we got Brian Hodak and Dan McCullough. They got 4 fish, a 46.75, 38.5, 38.5, and a 32, which I know that I think they caught 3 of those on day 2, and I think they caught their kicker or whatever you want to call it, like a 38.5 again the last day to just kind of shoot up the leaderboard, because those big fish really give you the one up on points. So congrats to them for 2nd place. And without further ado, the runner-up Top Gun Team of the Year and 1st place finish in the World Championship, we got Ty and Tate Sennett with 7 fish. And I could go down the list, but the biggest one, all right, I got a 49.25, 44.75, 42.75, 41, 40.25, 38.75, and a 31.75.
That's ridiculous.
And they missed probably 10 fish.
And they saw a billion. And they caught 2 day 1, 2 day 2, and 3 on the short day 3.
In the driving
The big
rain,
one.
worst conditions.
Big one they caught on day 3 as well.
Yeah. That's coming in. That's like ice status. Just
They didn't even, it wasn't like
fish.
just catching 1 to like seal the deal. They just decided to catch 3 on day 3.
Yeah. I wonder if they knew what they were doing.
Maybe a little bit.
I mean, Gus, would you say like the biggest takeaway from this event, like we kind of led it with, like we learned probably the most, is like at any given time there is a bite going on a body of water, and it's like you just gotta figure it out because it's happening. No excuses.
Right. And sometimes you got to figure it out during the tournament. And honestly, the people that take first, they're the ones that have it figured out before going into the tournament. I mean, there's some people that can just kind of pick it up on the fly or get it last minute. But I mean, man, I think you really got to be on top of your shit pre-fishing more than people think, more than just catching fish or finding a spot or two that you really like. It's like, you got to know where they're firing it up. And if you're on a place like the Chippewa Flowage that's really, really large, that's tough for people just going into it and not having like big time history there. I am not at all taking away anything from the Senates because they are incredible sticks. They obviously know what they're doing because they were 2nd Top Gun Team of the Year, so they catch fish everywhere. But it's just going into a place like this, it's just like you got to
but like being on your home body of water like that, I mean, that's not a shoe-in by any means. Like it's tough. Like you got the added pressure of being on your home body of water and like all that history to go off to, having to make a game plan that still works. Like you know, muskie is a muskie. Like it's not like they're just jumping in your boat no matter who you are.
It's true. I mean, the Senates could have done their, run and gun program and gone to every single good spot that they know and just maybe accidentally see 0 fish or something. I don't know. That could happen.
Might have seen them, lost some. Like, it just, you never know in these turns. Like, it's not, you have a finite amount of time. So it's not like,
Yeah.
I mean, it was, it was impressive. Talking with them and listening to kind of like what, not what they were doing, but like just hearing kind of how they were just on top of so many fish. It's just crazy to think that like we were fishing the same freaking lake.
It didn't seem right. but it was over with. We got the fish, and yeah, I can't explain to you like how relieved I am for a tournament to be done. I know, Max, you and I talked about this. I think it was just the weather and how draining it was, and the fact that we barely saw any fish, that we're like, dude, I just need to get home. Just like my celebration consisted of water and going to bed at a very reasonable time.
That's why we're having a few tonight.
Yeah, that's correct.
Well, that's a one hell of a recap for one hell of a season for you guys. Pretty sweet to see, the multiple guys that you ended up rooming with through all these tournaments. They all finished well this year. So Eagle River, Vilas County represent. Get to start fresh next year though. Can't hang your head on this one too much, and maybe go for that 2-peat. And that'll be really cool to watch next year to see, are these guys legit or are they just some fools? So we'll see there. But yeah, awesome stuff, and congrats to you guys.
Appreciate it.
Brian.
Your Vegas odds curse, it worked out okay. We didn't hit the over on the biggest fish. I was listening back. You said it was going to be 1 fish was the total, 44.5 was the size. So we got the total, didn't get the size. And then you said the biggest fish for the tournament was going to be, I think, a 48 and something.
Half, I think.
48 and a half.
Greg Thomas stuck a 50-incher on the first day, so he shattered that.
Overbetters are happy.
Yeah, overbetters are happy. Nice little 2-in-1 day for them.
So I do have a merch update if we're ready to go down that road.
Let's do it.
I got as well, I guess this won't be coming out for a few days, but currently live as we're sitting here talking, the giveaway has been announced. It's been posted on the Muskies on Tap Instagram. If you haven't checked that out yet, go check that out. By the time you hear this, you'll probably have very limited time to do so. But our winners will be announced Friday afternoon. We can go ahead and probably name a time. We'll say 4 p.m. Central Time Friday. We will do the drawing. And go check out the Instagram for all the rules on that. But we will be then rolling out the merch once Gus has sort of his website figured out there. Gus, can you give us an update on that?
Yes. I am actually really hoping that by the time that this comes out on Thursday, let me pull up the calendar, Thursday, September 28th. I am hoping that is solidified. It is in working order. Actually, you can get a little bit of a sneak peek on the sugsfishing.com, www.sugsfishing.com website for my guide service is actually where you can purchase apparel. And I'll have.
So is it live? They can go on there and dump their card in, and
if
spend their money.
You can dump your card in there, but if the items still show out of stock, then it's not fully ready. As soon as they show in stock, you can start ordering. But I would assume as well when that happens, we'll be announcing that on Instagram, the Muskies on Top.
Yet another week, yet another stay tuned update.
Well, they arrived.
But it's close. It's this week.
Flowage.
Yeah, it's happening.
Yeah.
No, we're new to this, man. It's tough.
We don't have like a managing team here. I mean, you're looking at it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
you're in
bozos.
control. You're in control of all this merch, God.
Yeah, so stay tuned
he?
this week. If you aren't lucky and you don't win the giveaway, you can go spend some of your money instead of on musky baits. Go ahead and buy a sweatshirt. It's getting cold out. You're going to need it. So that'll be up at some point this week. Check Instagram for all the updates revolving around merch.
Quickly, before we talk about anything else there with the hoodies, this was something pre-planned. I'm going to have to give myself a pat on the back because I was looking.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry. For once, I got to just give myself a pat on the back here. When I was looking at the sweatshirts and the quality, of course, went for high quality. I found the hoodies without strings, and I remember a little bit of grumbles going on. I'm not going to name names. And then this weekend,
that happened
with Max's muskie, with it getting tangled in the reel. I always said screw strings. I always took them off or tied them up or tucked them in. These hoodies do not have strings. Some people maybe will grumble about it as well, but I am stoked on that.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, these
that's all I
things,
got. That was my quick ramble.
I was kind of my thing. I was going to add on that. No strings. That was by design. Gus, yes, you're very smart. Good job. Round of applause.
Well, thank you.
Quality is great. You can fish in these. I mean, you could go out in these, go to the bars.
You're gonna find yourself a
Guy or
lot of
gal.
women wearing one of these,
Or a lot of men. If you're a
Yep,
gal
a lot
or
of men, we're
or
not
a guy
judging
that,
here.
whatever. Nope, whatever. Anything. All
Just
good.
musky fishing at the end of the day.
Yes, sir. And so, you sport these. Nick just hopped on. That actually is like a perfect segue. So this recap ended up going way longer than we thought. We're gonna end this episode here. Brian's got to go get some food because he's fat. And sorry, my bad.
No, we go. Keep it in.
He's in good shape. He's been in the lab. We're gonna have Nick Amros and Clayton Spees hop on the third place team at the World Championship. We're either gonna do a full, just massive episode that comes out on Thursday, or we're gonna break it up. So we'll figure that out later. But until then, Brian, you want to just send us away for this one?
All right, everybody. Thanks again for watching this episode of Muskies on Tap. What one hell of a weekend everybody had. Oh, sorry. Thank you for listening to this episode of Muskies on Tap. One hell of a weekend over in Hayward, Wisconsin for the Muskies on Tap crew. Top Gun Team of the Year. We're not going to hear the end of it for a long time, guys. It might be coming up in every pod, so get used to it now. Shout out all the top finishers, though. Shout out to Senate's incredible showing in the championship. And shout out the people coming up in the interview in this episode, Nick Amorose and Clayton Spees. Take care, everybody, and thank you for listening.
Peace.
Peace.